Landmines and jellyfish. Welcome back to Knives, I guess. And before you ask, no, you can't borrow my Alanis Morissette CD. I traded it for a snake. That's actually a true story. But we did a live stream last night, and the D20 of Destiny smiled upon us, and we got the RoseCraft Blades Castorea. And I really wanted to run this one after carrying it, so I was happy to see that. Let's take a look at what we've got here, and first things first, and most importantly, the pocket clip is tip up, which is the Lord's carry. It is reversible. You got split G10 right here. You got a flipper tab, so let's flick the beam. You got a 4-inch D2 spear point blade, and you got a button lock. And the button lock is interesting because it only lets it close it. You can't open off of the button lock. And it's got a nice soft close. It's easy to time out. I really like that button lock, you guys. But, you know, I carried it for that week, and if you haven't seen it, it carried well. It was very comfortable. It did what I needed to. The only turd in the punch bowl was the factory edge. That was terrible. I am guessing that in China, the company that's making these for RoseCraft turned a blind apprentice loose with a dull chisel to get this edge set. It was bad. Now, you know, on the copy paper, it tore all the way through instead of cutting it. The cardstock, it also was just a nasty cut. It still got me through working for the week. It was not a bad week with it. You know, I wasn't doing super heavy cuts. I wasn't doing super fine cuts. So it did get the job done, but it wasn't happy about it. And that was the only problem I could find with this thing. And when we went in on Cardboard Slayer, it was a very, very pleasant surprise. You know, with the edge that it had on it, I expected pretty realistically about 30, 40 minutes before we had to stop and sharpen it. Edges that are, you know, not as bad as this did not last long before we had to sharpen them. This thing went through 2 hours of cutting before we sharpened it, and almost all those cuts were nice and clean. It blazed through them up until we got to the end of that 2 hours. And then it started rolling and tearing the cardboard that we had. Some of the softer, harder to cut stuff, it did not like it anymore. And part of that is the edge angle was pretty good, and this is a thin blade stock with a high flat grind on a wide piece of steel. So the edge from the bottom to the top is fairly acute. So it did great there. And we stopped, we took our time to sharpen it. I put a 15-degree edge on it, and right after I finished putting that edge on it, one of my guys that knows more than I do popped in and said, D2 like 17 degrees, maybe 18, not 15. But I'd already sent it, so that's what we ran. And, you know, we spent a little bit of time sharpening it and getting it really nice, and then we went back in, and 2 hours and some change. It did a lot of very, very nice cutting. It blazed through just about everything. We broke out the Insanity cardboard, which is double layer. It's super heavy duty. And if you have edge problems or your grind isn't so good for slicing, like I am not joking, I push down on those and my office chair rocks back. My feet come off the floor. Like, that stuff is insane. This blazed through it with maybe a third, quarter the pressure that it takes a lot of other knives to go through that stuff. Like, it was definitely slicing very nicely. This blade is incredibly slicey. And we ran it for the 2 hours and some change before I physically couldn't keep going. I was just too shot out. And so we stopped. We ended the live stream, but we did strop it back up afterwards. And we got it shaving again in no time flat. We got the clean cuts on paper. Like, it does everything about like it did after I finished sharpening it. You know, the D2 held up very well, even on an edge that was a little bit too fine. So, you know, I'm very happy with how that did. Very pleasant surprise overall. One thing worth mentioning is the ergonomics on this. And the gap between the liners right here, these liners are hard 90 degrees. They're not chamfered. They're not crowned. There's nothing there. And normally with that gap, with where my finger rides in that gap, it becomes incredibly painful after about an hour and a half to 2 hours. There was very mild hot spotting after the third hour, but yeah, no other issues. Like, this is completely fine. And I mean, it's bad enough that there's a callus right here from doing that. So the ergonomics are fantastic, and I gotta guess there was some testing done on this before it got released to get that figured out and get it dialed in. That's what I'm assuming. And, you know, with RoseCraft blades, you go on the website, you look at the knife, and it tells you who designed it. Fairly small company, so you can always see who designed it. And, you know, this one was designed by Andy Armstrong. And this is a fantastic design. Like, bravo, dude. You did really good on this. And, you know, again, the way it looks and trying to describe this to somebody without seeing it, it seems like it shouldn't work that good on paper, but dear God, this thing is good. They are $20 on the website, and I'm going to link off to that so you can check it out. They're clearing stuff out to make room for new designs and new inventory. So if you like this and you like what you're seeing, now's the time to get it. And just the whole thing with Cardboard Slayer was a very pleasant surprise. I still can't believe it went that hard on such a bad factory edge, but it did. And of course, it did great with the 15-degree edge and took very, very little edge wear over the course of 2 hours and some change. You can see the copy paper starting to show wear. The cardstock did show the wear, but it was still cutting so cleanly through the cardboard, and they were such easy cuts with so little pressure on the blade. So yeah, it did fantastic on that. I would have liked to have started with the factory edge that I've got on all my other RoseCrafts. The 2 Pocket Monsters, the other Castorea, the little Chonk, the OG. Those all have much better edges, the edges that you're supposed to have. That would have been nice to start off with, and when we do the Pocket Monster, we're going all out on that thing until it fails, because I promised Andy I'd do that. But, this was a good live stream with this thing, and, again, I've got another Castorea to give away, and if you haven't subscribed, please do. There are 4 to give away when we hit 2K. Andy was kind enough to give me the second Pocket Monster to give away, so we need to thank him for that, but we're getting there. We're getting there slowly but surely. And, I don't really have much more to say before I'm holding you guys hostage. At the end of the day, this thing did really good on Cardboard Slayer. Very good slicey blade. It carried well. It worked, it did well at work, even on the bad edge. Like, this is a great design. It's got that funk to it. It's a little bit weird, but man, it's good. So, it's fantastic. But all that being said, thanks for looking at my crap. Subscribers, you guys are awesome. Y'all keep coming in the door. I appreciate it so much. You guys watch this and get something out of it. It's very humbling. And by the way, we are working our way towards an edge sharpness tester to get another reliable data point off of Cardboard Slayer and edges coming out of the box. You guys are helping with that with the super chats, and I can't thank you enough for that. We're getting there slowly but surely. I can't say thanks enough. Comments, I love some feedback. Let me know if you like what you see here or what you think about the results from Cardboard Slayer or anything else. And all that being said, y'all have a nice day.